Hello, everyone. My name is Anthony, and this is My Viewpoint, the Journey. Let's get into it. Thank you for joining me, everyone. My name again is Anthony, and my channel is My Viewpoint. Thanks for joining me. I'm here to talk about the day that I felt the hand of God. Everything that I will talk about in these series and different parts are things that actually happen. And what made me start talking about this now? Because I was telling my wife some of the things that I have experienced through my journey concerning, the things that happen. And she said, wow, it's very interesting. You should tell people. And I pondered it for a while. So I think I share some um, things of what happened during my journey. And let me add, a lot of things were great, but also some things were very frightening. Well, let me just start off by saying that um, I was just an ordinary kid. I was someone that a kid just growing up. I didn't have no belief. I wasn't, my family wasn't going to church like that. You know, you might go over uncle house or something like that, and they might go to church or something like that. And I remember experience when I went to church, and I'm and the people got to jumping around and screaming. I didn't understand anything about that. Now, mind you, you heard of God, Jesus, and the Holy Ghost. But being a kid, you hear about it, but you're not really like interested in really trying to find out what is this all about. So when I went to church and I got to seeing these people jumping around all uncontrollably, I ran out the church. I ran out the church and I ran to the, here's the front of the church, and I ran on the side of it. And I was outside, and these ladies, no men, came out. It was ladies. I don't know if they was the missionaries. I don't know what they would call the ushers. They ran out and they was like, "Oh, the Holy Ghost wants you to come back in." I'm looking like the Holy Ghost. I'm like the Holy Ghost. I'm like, because when you hear ghosts, you associate ghosts with something scary. So I didn't understand, and neither were they trying to um, explain it in a way that I can understand what they were saying. And I told them I wasn't coming back. I wasn't going back in. So that was an experience that I had. Now, me growing up, I always felt that this was without people telling me about God. I just felt that God did not care about anyone except they were going to church. I didn't have a great this awesome life. I was just ordinary kid, just going to school. I didn't have the best of clothes. Matter of fact, I was go to school and I had holes in my shoes because my father wasn't around. It was just my mom raising me and my three other siblings. I had two sisters and another brother. So my mom did the best she could. And throughout my childhood, I just was not one of the kids who were saying, "What my daddy at? What my father?" I just wasn't into that. And neither was my mama talking about him, or she just didn't kill him. I knew I had a father, but I wasn't looking for him. I was not one kid. I wanted want my dad to take me and play catch and football, because me and my brother used to do that. So that didn't make me feel bad. I just hated the fact that going to school, my mom tried, but it was times that I had to go to school with a hole at the bottom of my shoe. Real funny story. So I had on these long socks, and so the socks were so long it came up to my knee, and I still had a lot of more sock left. So what I did was I used to fold it under the bottom of my foot. Now, mind you, I had a hole in my shoe, so I stuffed newspaper. Didn't have no cardboard. I wasn't thinking about using cardboard, so I had some newspaper and went to school. And I remember we were playing baseball. Now, I didn't know this was gonna happen. It was my turn to go bat. And I went up there and bat, and I got to running around at first base. And something just felt weird at the bottom of my foot with the shoe. And when I got to first base and I got to second base, and I looked at the bottom, and my sock was sticking out. I was embarrassed, but at the same time, you a kid, oh well. So I was the type of kid, and I'm trying to tell you the stories of what led up to me feeling the hand of God. I'm just giving you a background that I was not one of these kids who had everything. There was nothing really special about me. I was just a kid going to school that would go to a friend's house. They come over your house. We didn't have the best of the things. I wanted, during my time, it was something called jingle boots. The only people who understand what I'm saying about these boots called jingle boots had to be at least around my age, at least around the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s. They had something called the jingle boots. And they were all black, they were nice, and you used to walk and he had this buckle, they used to just jingle. Now, my mom came and brought us some jingle boots. And I'm like, yeah, you getting that up-to-date gear that everybody wearing. And I'm like, jingle boots? I'm like, yes. Took them out the box. I'm like, these different. Because the other jingle boots were flat under the bottom of the boot. Mine had a heel. Only people will understand what I'm saying. My jingle boots had a heel and they were square. The original boots, they were round in the front and they had a level underneath. Mine was square in the front and had a heel. And the part that's supposed to jingle in the back was basically the buckle. It made a jingle sound when you move. Mine did not jingle. So what I tried to do was to make mine somewhat like the other boots. I tried my best to do something to make that jingle. I didn't do. So what I did, I got a knife and I tried to cut the heel off. Tried to cut the level. Now in my head, I'm thinking as a kid, I can level this. I can cut and kind of level this leather sole. Didn't work out. So my upbringing was it was great, but I didn't have the gear like everyone else. I just didn't. Now I did have some Levi's. I'm just giving you what type of kid I was, how I used to dress. I used to struggle. I don't want anybody to think that when things happen great to people or something happened that it was because how they were living, or I was just an ordinary kid. Played football. I was a very nice kid at a young age. Um, when I got allowance, whether it was $5 a month or $3 a month, what I used to do with my money is I used to pay $1 to my brother and sisters if they wanted to make $1 to do my dishes, because we had a week worth of we had a week of chores, and you own that chore for a whole week. And if I had kitchen, what I would do, I would try to use that $3 to pay off for my week. Or if I didn't feel like doing dishes one day, I would probably pay 50 cents. See, 50 cents back then went a long way than what 50 cents today. And I was a kid who didn't get into no fights really. No, I didn't get into a fight. I got into one fight, but it ended within seconds. So I made class clown. My best friend was this white guy. His name was Jeffrey, and we got along. He had a black father and a white mother, but we got along, and he was my best friend. I remember we used to get suspended from school together. I was so bad the principal brought me home, and my mom said told me to go outside and get this switch from the tree. You know, back then mom used to cut the switch from the tree, and I'm taking off the leaves, and I'm going back like cutting it through the wind. I was like, hold on a minute. So I took the switch in. She said, go outside and clean. On the side of the garage was trash. She said, go out there and clean that up, and when you come back, I'ma whoop yo you know what. Man, I went out there and cleaned that yard in the back, and I went to the arcade. I called myself running away. So I was running away, and I went to the arcade playing all day. Now, mind you, this about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It's this video game that I was very good at, that only people that was born back in the 70s and 80s would know. It's a game called Stargate and a game called Defender. I was very good at both, and I can play that game for 12 hours straight. So I went to the arcade. Now, this was around about 2 in the afternoon. I played that game. I think it was around about 9 o'clock that night, and I was headed back home, and I saw my mom and her boyfriend pulling up looking at, I guess they was out looking for me. And I saw his truck pull up in the alley where I was at. And I ducked behind, they didn't see me. I ducked behind the trash can, this big dumpster. So as he opening up the dumpster, I'm bent behind it. And he had kind of walked on his side. I walked around so they didn't find me. So while they were out looking for me, I went home. But by the time they got back, they saw me in the house. She didn't even bother to ask where was I at. She was just happy to see me. And another time I was going to get back then we called it a whooping, a spanking. I got in trouble. My 2 sisters and brothers, we got in trouble, and I knew we was getting a whooping. So what I did was, at this time, we didn't have to pull off our clothes. and she whoop us in our bare underwear, bare skin. It was we had our pants, we had to lay across a chair. So what I did was, and this, she didn't use a switch at this time, she had a belt. So I put on me a few items right there in the butt part, because that's the only part she was hitting. And as she whooping me, I'm up there acting like it hurt. I don't feel nothing. Man, it was. So there's the type of kid that I was, just playing video games and going over friends' house and stuff like that. This what happened the day that I felt the hand of God. It was like maybe the afternoon. I don't know where my brother was. I used to try to hang with my brother and his friend, even though he was only a year older, but I was still the young brother, and he didn't want me hanging with him. So I don't know where he was. And my two sisters, I think they were in the room. My mom was down on the couch and she was asleep. And I used to play cards at a young age because my mom taught us how to play cards. And there was this game called Tunk. I don't know if people know what type of, I was, I felt that I was good, great at it. So it was this guy across the street and his sister wanted to play cards. Now, mind you, I'm a young guy. I understand that I'm playing brother and sister. And I'm smart enough to know the odds are very much against me. But I didn't let that bother me, because I felt that going against the odds, I would win. So I had maybe $3. We were just playing quarter game, quarter cut meaning the after you get your cards and look at the bottom of the card, whether it's a diamond, heart, spade, or club. Whoever have the lowest club, diamond, heart, or spade will win. I'm playing brother and sister. Man, he would drop with 33. Now the odds of me having 33, the odds isn't good, but I know that their two are playing against me. I'm smart enough to know that, brother and sister. So they won my money, and I'm going across the street. I'm kind of upset. I say, I'll be back. So my mom is asleep. I go upstairs, look in her purse, look in her wallet. She had a lot of change. So I don't know how much change I took, but I took a lot of quarters. I went right back across the street. And I end up winning their money, and I won all my money back, and I won their money. And I put all the change back in my mom's. Now, mind you, I don't know how much it was. So I'm quite sure if she looked in her wallet, I know she like, hell, this much change, but she didn't say anything. But I was still kind of upset, because I was in my head, I'm playing fair. And I know they're cheating, playing against me, because they're brother and sister. But I'm a young kid, and I'm like, so I'm going to the room, I'm laying down, and I was like, how in the world can someone who trying to do what's right, even though what I did was basically stealing, because I went in my mom's purse and took her change without her knowing. But I didn't see it that way in my head as a kid. So I'm sitting down. Now, mind you, always felt that God only cared about people in church. And so I'm laying in bed. Now, mind you, it's like, maybe at this time, it's maybe 3 something in the afternoon. So I'm laying in bed, and I'm just kind of thinking to myself, man, it just seemed like the people that just doing wrong always winning, always getting over, but the people that's trying to deal honestly, I just felt mad. So I'm laying there, and I felt as though I felt this hand, I felt the presence come out the air and lay on my head for maybe like 2 to 3 seconds. It didn't feel like a ordinary hand. What I mean was, it didn't feel like a human hand, because the size of it felt like it was. It didn't feel like the size of a human hand would feel, and it kind of just laid on my head for like 2 or 3 seconds, and I felt it go back up. The presence of it was awesome. Then I jumped up out the bed and I went to looking around, because I said, hold on, I'm the only one in this room. And I knew it was a hand, because you feel the hand, the fingers. It just didn't feel like the size of a normal human hand. And I felt the presence go back up in the air. I jumped up. Now, mind you, I had the understanding to myself to know, wow, God just laid his hand on me. Now, mind you, I don't understand this. Who I'ma tell? They're gonna believe me. So I basically just still went on with life. But it was always somebody stopping me, whether I was in a store, saying, boy, the hand of God is on you. This is what you used to hear preachers say. And I'm like, what are they talking about? So I still was just doing things that a kid was do. Still had, I ain't gonna say I was struggling, but because what my mom was going through, being a single mother, trying to work, trying to raise 4 kids, trying to keep a roof over our head. So whatever struggle she had, I ain't gonna say that I struggled, but I was a part of it, because I couldn't take care of myself. A lot of things I'm going to say is going to be a here and there, because, you know, I'm just trying to go through the things that I experienced in life. And that was one of the first times that I felt the hand of God. But there is more. It get very, very interesting. And if you subscribe to this channel, you're going to hear everything. It's great. And I'm glad to be talking about this in the time that we're living in, because a lot of things that going on in the world we don't understand. A lot of things that we just believe solely what preachers are saying, because like I said, I'm going to get into a lot of things about the journey that I have been through, and it's more to come. So stay tuned. Stay tuned for more content, because the things that I'm going to talk about is things that actually happen. And some of these things may have happened to you. And if some things have happened to you concerning God that you couldn't tell nobody, because people are going to think you crazy, don't know what you're talking about. They're going to say, well, did you eat before you go to bed? All this. all of these things. I used to think crazy things when I was younger. I used to think that when I heard thunder and lightning that God was bowling. I thought that God was angry. I thought God was fighting his wife. Me being a kid, hey, I thought when it rained, God was crying. So you may have had some experiences with God. Put it in the description. Share it. And I read them, may even talk about them when I'm done with my journey about what I'm talking about. I thank you all for watching. I thank um, you all for taking your time out today. Like I say, like and subscribe because it's more to come. Thank you. See you next time. Peace.